Welcome to another edition of Horse Center, everyone. I am Brian Zipsy, and as always, I have the great pleasure of being joined by Matt, the Stallion Schiffman. How are you today, Matt?
I'm great, Brian, and 2 times in 1 week, that's terrific.
Yeah, well, we got some scheduling conflicts, Matt, so we needed to get these horse centers in. We're doing two this week, and because we did a big show earlier this week, we're doing something a little bit different today. Today's show on Horse Center is going to be all about breeding. Hence why I called you the Stallion, although there are many reasons why I might call you the Stallion. Matt, what I want to talk about are some of our favorite sires, maybe a few of our favorite broodmares today. And, Tap It, Medagliadoro, some of those are a little bit easier, maybe Kitten's Joy. We're going to talk about some sires that don't have the big 50,000, 100,000 plus stallion rates right now. We're going to look for some sires we're going to talk about are well known already, but doing really well and moving up, and maybe some slightly hidden gems. You ready to get going?
I am. I think some of these stallions have a pretty good bang for their buck.
Bang for their buck, yeah. Well, I'm going to start with a $25,000 stud fee horse, Matt. English Channel. He was a turf horse, of course, who gave us a lot of thrills on the racetrack. One of America's best turf horses for years. The beautiful chestnut son of Smart Strike was finally a champion before he retired back in 2007. And now he's had 5 racing crops of racing age. And I've really grown to love English Channel as a sire, Matt. Turf, obviously, he was a turf horse, and he's having great turf horses. Paranda is a wonderful turf filly who's won graded stakes on 2 different continents, 2 different sides of the world. Heart to Heart, he's had champions in Canada on turf and dirt. Heart to Heart, we just saw win recently at Turf Stakes. But maybe the favorites I haven't even mentioned yet, the Pizza Man. I wanted to mention the Pizza Man because he's my pick in the Arlington Million on Saturday. I'll be there for that. And then, of course, it's not all turf with English Channel. As much as I think his horses can move up on turf, we've seen some really good English Channel sons and daughters on dirt. First and foremost, Matt, you remember last year's Travers.
Absolutely.
Great finish, VE Day, getting the best of his stablemate Wicked Strong in the Travers. It was a bit of a surprise. But I think we've grown to know that VE Day is a very good horse and a very good dirt horse specifically. But with horses like the Pizza Man, my Arlington Million pick going, English Channel for 25,000, he stands at CALUMET. He's one of my favorite current sires, man.
Yeah, and I think you get a lot of value and a versatility with a $25,000 stud fee. I think I remember English Channel did some pretty good running back at my home track at Monmouth Park in the United Nations, I think. Continuing along with the turf sires, I'm going to go with a pretty obscure sire up until the last year or so, and that's Divine Park. Divine Park stands for a mere $7,500, and maybe until the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly Turf last year, we didn't know much about this horse as a sire. Of course, Divine Park is the sire of Lady Eli. As a runner, Divine Park was a pretty good horse who highlighted his career with a win in the Met Mile. And the Met Mile is known in the breeding world as one of those races that really stamps a possible great sire. So it was from that race that Divine Park moved on to AIRDRIE stud. And of course, having a runner like Lady Eli gives you a lot of note. And just to say a little bit more about Lady Eli, all the reports about her that have been coming in recently have been absolutely terrific in terms of her recovery from laminitis. Trainer Chad Brown said that she has achieved every goal for recovery that they have set for the horse without any problems or delays. She's out of the barn walking around a good bit. She's out of the barn grazing. So I don't think a recovery could be going any better than that. Let's hope it continues. And even though they haven't said anything, it sounds like we might get to see her run again in the future, whether it's next year, but things are going great for Lady Eli, and obviously then for the sire, Divine Park.
Yeah, good choice, Matt. Divine Park is an interesting young sire, and as you said, he's a bit of a bargain there. He was bred to run probably long on turf to a point as a son of Chester House, and the fact that he was fast enough to win one-turn races, and most notably the Met Mile, shows his versatility as a horse in combination with his breeding. And we're starting to see that, and obviously Lady Eli, a wonderful champion, and we want to see her back. So it's good to see so much fight in the young champion, and we continue to wish her the very best in her recovery from laminitis. Matt, I'm going to jump to a sire who has an even lower current stud fee, if possible, than Divine Park, and that's my next choice, Line of David. Line of David stands at Spendthrift, my friends at Spendthrift here in Kentucky, for a mere 3,500 stud fee right now. Line of David, you'll remember, was a very lightly raised son of Lionheart who won the Arkansas Derby in his short career. He was retired early due to injury, but he hasn't had a ton of top horses yet. But his first crop is interesting. He's had several stakes winners in his first crop, Cross the Line being one who won the California Derby earlier this year. But a little bit after that, there was an even better stakes winner. Of course, his name is Firing Line. We remember the great battle that he had with Dortmund in the Robert B. Lewis early in the year. He absolutely dominated the Sunland Derby. He won by a pole there. And then what a great Kentucky Derby he ran. The Preakness didn't work out in the crazy weather. And right now he's on the shelf. But Firing Line, certainly one of the top 3-year-olds in the country. Line of David looks like a good young sire. Another reason I wanted to talk about Line of David, of course, Matt, is we saw a first out filly at Saratoga last Wednesday. Excuse my French. She looked very good in person. Yes, excuse my French, people. That's what I said. Excuse my French, looked very good in the paddock before the race. She was sent off as a lukewarm favorite in one of those well-bred maiden races at Saratoga, and she won pretty easily and solid time that day, Matt. So Line of David is a young sire, $3,500 at Spendthrift Farm. He's caught my eye.
Yeah, and you throw a horse like Firing a Line, then you're going to get some attention from breeders, and you're probably going to start seeing a little bit of a better class of mare, and things will get rolling for Line of David. And I'm just going to play right off of that and the race that you were talking about with Firing Line and Dortmund on the Derby Trail, and I think it's a good time to talk a little bit about Big Brown. Big Brown had a great racing career with winning the Derby and the Preakness, and then that strange result in the Belmont Stakes where he didn't finish the race. He was trained by Rick Dutrow and was part of the IEAH group. So always something interesting was going on with Big Brown. And we could probably say the same thing about his stud career. He started out his stud career in Kentucky, and right from the beginning, he was spending half the year in Kentucky, and he would fly off to Australia and spend half the year in Australia and come back. So there was always something going on. And the most recent change for Big Brown is that he's ran a lot in New York, and he was based in New York for Rick Dutrow. He's back in New York, standing stud at Dutchess View Farm for $8,500, which I see as a pretty good bargain price considering the purses that horses are running for in New York now. And the New York Bred Enhancement Program is fantastic. And aside from that, Big Brown's having a pretty good year. You talked about Firing Line. Of course, he's got Dortmund running, and Dortmund did great things on the Derby Trail, in the Kentucky Derby, and he's taken a little time up, but is back in training and reportedly doing well. In addition to that, this year, he's also had Coach Inge, who won the Brooklyn, and he's had Puka, who ran second in the Gazelle recently at Aqueduct. So good things coming from Big Brown for a mere $8,500 in New York.
Big time runner, Matt, and yeah, who knows how good Dortmund's going to be. So Big Brown's breeding career as a sire might still be on the upswing. Interesting. I'm going to move to my current favorite sire. He's not one of those 100,000 plus stud fee sires, but Hard Spun is a sire that I've just grown to love. Wonderful racehorse. Hard Spun, of course, stands for Darley America. His stud fee is a little higher than some of the ones we've mentioned. He's up at 35,000. But I think you're going to get a good investment there with Hard Spun. He's as a horse, he could win at any distance. I think I would have loved. In fact, I know I would have loved to see him run on turf with that breeding. He was a son of Danzig, of course. Great speed, great stamina, and he's bringing horses to the track now that are able to do a lot of things. They're winning on any surface. Of course, we loved Wicked Strong last year as a rallier. He won the Wood Memorial. Jim Dandy involved in a lot of the best races last year as a 3-year-old. But we're seeing turf horses. We're seeing horses that can run on synthetics. And Matt, we're seeing horses that can run the sprints, but we're seeing horses that can win at 1.5 miles or more as well. Big John B, Hard Aces. He's already had a champion in questing. I was talking about the Arlington Million on Saturday a little bit. Last year, of course, his interesting story, Hardest Core. And you gotta think Hard Not to Like has become one of the best turf mares in the country. Her win in the Diana was wonderful to see and a spectacular finish. Hard Not to Like is definitely a real threat to win an Eclipse Award this year. Hard Spun, versatility in class as a horse, versatility in class now as a sire. His oldest horses are 6 years old, and his list of stakes winners is just about as impressive as anybody in the country. I don't know if he's going to stay at 35,000 much longer.
Yeah, and again, all the stud fees we're talking about are for this year. So some of these stallions we're talking about probably will get a little deserved boost in their fee,
especially after we talk about
them. Following along with your Hard Spun, I'm gonna throw in a horse that's also standing this year for $35,000, who's having a great year. From one of our favorite racing farms, Stone Street. Brian, you and I both love Stone Street, and that's Curlin. 2-time Horse of the Year, leading money winner in the history of North America. So his prowess on the track, we all know about. And he's having an absolutely terrific year this year. He's had 2 terrific 3-year-old fillies running. Stellar Wind out in the West has done some great things. Won the Santa Anita Oaks, finished 4th in the Kentucky Oaks, and came back and won another Oaks this summer at Santa Anita. And in the East, Carolina, another terrific 3-year-old filly, great win in the Acorn, and we'll watch the stretch run of that race. And ran a big race in the Coaching Club American Oaks and got put up into first there. But in addition to the 3-year-old fillies this year, Curlin has the winner of the Schuylerville at Saratoga with Off the Tracks, and Ocean Knight, who made some noise on the Derby Trail in the Sam F. Davis, who was slated to come back just the other day, but had a little trouble in the stall, but is coming back. And also this year on the Derby Trail and recently in the Haskell, Keen Ice is a Curlin. So for $35,000, Curlin's doing great things.
Well, a friend of ours, Matt, Rogue Clown, would be very pleased to see you talking about Curlin. Yes, I think Curlin's already. He's the same crop as Hard Spun. I think he's already one of the best sires in the country. Same price as Hard Spun right now, $35,000. He's getting a lot of good horses. You know how I feel about Palace Malice, who hasn't won yet this year. I think Stellar Wind still may be the best dirt 3-year-old filly in the country. The Oaks wasn't her day, but other than that, she's been terrific. So another good choice with Curlin. We got to give some love to the Broodmares too, I think, Matt. I want to mention one because I'm so high in this horse. A lot of you already probably know how high I am on Prospect Park. He was a horse I was really interested in the Derby Trail. He wasn't able to make the Kentucky Derby and wasn't able to win a graded stakes on dirt with several seconds. But his turf debut the other day in the La Jolla was spectacular. And his mare is not a young mare by any means, but the California mare Quiet Romance. She's a daughter of Bertrando, which traces back to one of my favorites, Relaunch. Quiet Romance has had several graded stakes winners now. She had some really good mares in California, racing mares in California. Proposed was a multiple graded stakes winner about 10 years ago in California. Silent Size was a lightly raced filly who won the Santa Anita Oaks. Both were produced by Quiet Romance, this Bertrando mare. She's a Pam and Marty Wygod mare, so she keeps producing homebreds for them. And I think this latest one, Prospect Park, I really believe the sky is still the limit for Prospect Park. He's a big monster of a horse who's just putting it all together now. I think on turf, he's a monster. On dirt, he still could be a Grade 1 winner. So for that reason, I wanted to give a little love to Quiet Romance, the Wygod mare from California.
And a good choice. And I know you love Prospect Park, and it was great to see him run up to the potential that you've been talking about. I found a great brood mare to talk about, and this one's name is Serena's Cat. And if you like to look at the names of horses and where they came from, I think it'd be pretty easy to figure out Serena's Cat. Serena's Cat is a granddaughter of the great runner Serena Song, and Cat, she is by the amazing stallion Stormcat. So on her own, amazing bloodlines in that horse. She was a pretty good runner, $130,000 runner, won a minor stake at Monmouth Park, which attracted me to her also, my home track. But wait till you hear the produce record on this horse. Her first foal in 2010 was the great runner Noble Tune. Following year in 2011, your favorite, Brian, Honor Code.
One of my favorites.
Yeah, one of your favorites this year for sure. And his performance in the Met Mile, we were talking about the Met Mile Stallion Maker, and his run in there was just absolutely amazing, as we all know. In 2012, she had another horse named Lady Serena, who is still just a 3-year-old, still running, has 2 wins already, and that one was by Bernardini. So this Serena's Cat has seen only the best stallions. Then in 2013 and 2014, she was bred to Tappet. Her 2014 foal, listen to this, Brian, as a weanling, was sold for a record $3 million.
Wow.
At the Keeneland November sale. That's a record for...
That's a Tappet, right, Matt?
That's a Tappet. That's a record for a weanling. And that horse at the time was named Serena's Harmony. So we'll see if the owners keep that name, but that'll be one to look for. And most recently, this past year, no slouch, she was bred to Warfront.
There you go, Matt. Great bloodlines for her, Serena's Cat, and any half-brother or half-sister to Honor Code is a friend of mine. Folks, that's our show for today. It was a pedigree breeding show, some of our favorite sires, Brian and Matt's favorite sires and broodmares. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed seeing some of their best offspring do their thing with these race videos. So we'll be back soon with another edition of HorseCenter. We'll be talking Pacific Classic. We have the Travers coming up soon. Thank you, Matt, for joining me today.
It's my pleasure. It's always fun to dabble a little bit in the pedigrees.
That's right. You like to dabble. As always, we've been brought to you by Horse Racing Nation and Derby Wars. I hope you enjoyed the show. See you soon.